If you're an Android user searching for the perfect way to listen to your podcast as you head out to Camp Crystal Lake, check out the Podcast Republic app on the Google Play Store. There's thousands of good reviews, so you don't have to take my word for it. Check out the Podcast Republic app on the Google Play Store. Hey folks, this is a bit of an unusual episode situation we've got here. So what you're listening to right now is Friday the 13th, Part 2, Part 1, our normal Trip and Andrew episode where we go through the movie and talk about it. But we had a cool guest this week, Ted Geoghegan, a filmmaker, and we had planned to only speak with Ted for a short time, given his schedule. He wasn't going to have the time to hang out with us for a full recording, so he offered to hang out with us for a little bit, and we said that sounds great, and we'll record an interview with you, and we'll splice it in as we go through the movie. Turns out we were having a really good time, and we talked for much longer than anticipated. So instead of doing that, which I think would turn this into like a 2.5 hour mega episode that would probably scare some, we'll do our normal thing here. And then on the other episode, it will be an interview with Ted about his sort of history with the Friday the 13th franchise, why he likes Part 2 so much, and his pitch for a Friday sequel. So it's a really fun, cool interview. He was really super kind to spend so much time with us, and we had a blast talking to him. So check that out, the other episode that is in your feed today, and you can hear that after or before this one. I guess there's really not a spoiler issue. It's not, we don't, it's not like we, could ruin anything. So we listen in any order you please, but a double dose of Friday the 13th. And a huge thanks again to Ted for joining us there. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Trip Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers. And with me, as always, is my tag team partner, a man who knows that if you kill the mother of a deranged lunatic who's been feral in the woods for a decade, you're gonna have a bad time. The Macho Mandrew.
Andrew Lano, a very specific lesson to have learned.
Very specific lesson. I also want to say this is not necessarily relevant to what's happening now, but I'm pretty sure a big thunderstorm is about to roll in, so there might be some cool, spooky thunderclaps in the background, which I feel will be perfect for this podcast episode recording. Yes. We're doing a summertime horror movie, which is not normal for us, but was mostly because we got the chance to interview Ted, and I am always up for a Friday the 13th movie. But also, the more I sat and thought about it, summer camps, horror movie, summertime, it all felt okay. Yeah, it all felt okay to me. So this is part 2. We are playing a weird little hopscotch with the Friday the 13th filmography, which is odd because I believe it has the most 80s entries of all of the big 3.
It does, and it also has the most I believe it's got the most traditionally linear structure of sequel structure of any of the made franchises.
Yeah, no, there's not a hard left turn reboot in the middle. It's just pretty much Jason does a lot of killing. Although we'll get into it with Ted a little bit, but he does eventually die and become a supernatural entity, but it doesn't retcon itself the way the other franchises tend to.
More time jumping than I remembered.
Yeah, that is very
part
true.
Part 8 takes place after the year 2000.
Yeah, I did forget. Wait, is 8 Manhattan?
8's Manhattan.
Okay, I did forget about that. So I guess maybe that's where they get weird in the timeline.
But that's the thing. If you don't know that, it doesn't change anything. You're not confused about why things are the way they are.
Right. Yeah. That. Why is everyone dressed like it's 1987?
Looking at you, Marvel.
Well, yeah.
You miss one movie, and you're just like, whoa, hang on.
Well, it's a 24-part episodic movie series akin to a television program. Cool, except way longer and more expensive.
Get out.
Anyway, we're not here to clown on Marvel. We're here to talk about the most consistent of the big horror franchises from the 80s, Friday the 13th. So we watched part 2, and you know what that means.
We're gonna go back. We're gonna go dissect the 80s. It's your not ADI compliant staircase. Something's gonna happen with your not ADI compliant staircase.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott.
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Without an accent, that was your not ADA compliant staircase.
We start with this creepy itsy bitsy spider kid.
Real it
Always
opening.
a good start. Yeah, for sure. Not
I was
what
like,
I would have
I don't
expected.
remember. I forgot that this was like so it.
Yeah. And then maybe Jason's boots we see, maybe not. Turns out no. But this is the Mama Voorhees intro. And it's another movie that respects its audience enough to show it and just, give you the quick recap of what you missed.
Yeah. It's funny because it's just the second one. It's not even like we're way deep in the weeds.
Yes. It's not a whole lot to have asked people to have seen part 1 before coming to part 2.
And it's not like they were only like a year or two apart, I think. It was 80 and 82.
I think it's 80 and 82. Yeah, but the rest of them it's 83, 84, like they're just
almost
coming
once
back
a
to
year.
back to back. Yeah. So, we run through the dead friends. Real quick, like here's all the it's an in memoriam montage from Jason 1, and it just
love
occurred
the
to me
idea
right
of
now.
an actual in memoriam now.
That's what I was gonna say. It just occurred to me now that they really ought to do like for the next. Actually, this year is 40 years of Jason, so somebody should cut like all of them and do like in the arms of an angel or something like that.
You are the wind beneath my wings.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody ought to do that. Or maybe more appropriately would be Rebecca Black's Friday.
Oh, but no, it has to be the like dramatic trailer version.
Sure, yeah, you slow it down and, 7 a.m., waking up in the morning, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yes, I do know the words to the song. I'm not ashamed of it.
The sequel to that song was written by a kid who went to my high school.
There's a sequel to Friday?
Yeah,
I don't
called
feel
Saturday.
Like this is canon.
It's called Saturday.
I don't think that's canon.
No, she and him wrote it together.
Wait, Rebecca Black wrote it with the guy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do I know this person?
I don't think so. I think he was between you and me.
Okay. By the way, just for clarifications, this is 1981, actually. So
it's 1
80,
year
81.
later.
Yes, it's 80, 81, 82 for the first three. And then 4, 5, 6 are 84, 85, 86. And then 7 and 8 are 88, 89. So this franchise pumped out 8 movies in 10 years, which is, you got to respect the hustle.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, you got to respect the hustle. And then there was a 4-year gap. We had the Jason in the 90s, and then 10 years, Jason X 2002, Freddy vs. Jason 03, and the reboot in 2009.
I didn't know Jason X was 02. For some reason, I thought it was like 99.
No, it's 02, and it's also just like really unfortunate. I started to watch it fairly recently.
It is a guilty pleasure, Jason X.
Wait, are you talking about Jason X or Jason versus Freddy?
Jason X.
Freddy versus... Oh, okay. I was talking about Freddy versus Jason.
No, Freddy versus Jason. So I watch the kill counts for that occasionally, which to me is just enough of that movie.
It is like deeply homophobic and also pretty racist, which I was like, whoa, what are we doing here? I do not need to see Freddy Krueger saying dark meat at a black woman. That is not okay.
Or Kelly Rowland call Freddy Krueger a faggot. Like, why?
Yeah, no
What?
thanks. Don't
Why?
need either of these things. This is not what I need in this movie. It's one thing to have had that language in the 80s where it was culturally accepted, though I would obviously argue that it is not okay then either, but it's a totally different thing in 2002 or 3.
Yeah, it's very weird. I mean, I love the idea of, again, Freddy versus Jason is a great concept, but
yeah,
it was ruined by being 2003.
Right. So anyway, after we get the dead friend montage, we're fighting Mama Voorhees in the sand, and she cuts her head off with the final girl from the first movie, whose name just fell out of my head right now. Alice, thank you.
Right,
cuts her head
this
off
movie?
She cuts Mama Voorhees. In any case, whatever her name is, I will check. She cuts
Carol
Mama
or whatever your
Voorhees'
name is.
She cuts off Mama Voorhees' head with a machete, and it goes like slow. It goes to slow mo, and it's like spinning around slowly. And I just love. It's like the movie nudging you in the ribs, like, "Hey, look, it's a machete! Look, guys, it's a machete!" It is Alice. You were correct. I just love that though. Like, oh, let's take the time to really, really make sure everybody gets what we're doing here.
I love the music in this franchise, but it's not overstated, and it's one of those things. It's not. I mean, it's not music you hum. Like, it's not like The Shining or Halloween or Exorcist, where you can hum it and know what it means, but you hear Friday the 13th music and you know exactly what it is.
For sure.
Because I was in a pageant, I won a pageant back in February, and the theme was camp, and so I decided to do a Camp Crystal Lake counselor, and we could pick our own music for that segment for the walk around, and I was like, I was like, ooh, Friday the 13th music, and it was like, nope, this does not work. This is going to be a crowded bar, and this is a lot of strings.
It's most of the Friday movies are Harry Manfredini, who I think I'm saying his name correctly.
I think so.
Who did all of them except Manhattan and Freddy vs. Jason and the reboot. But he's a talented composer.
He didn't do Manhattan, but did do
Correct.
X and Goes to Hell?
Yep.
Wow.
He also,
I wonder why he was like,
movies.
I'll do
he did
1
a movie
through
called
7.
Wolves of Wall Street. Well, he did a movie called Wolves of Wall Street, and I was like, whoa, really? No, not him. But he also did the Friday the 13th game.
Oh.
Which I was not a fan of, but that is not a movie, and so we are not going to talk about it on this podcast.
Also, there's just no way, cutting back to the previously on segment, there is no way that fights, like movie fights, were as safe as they should have been in 1981.
Definitely not.
I'm watching these two, like a grown woman. She's probably, 60-something? Like, she's a golden girl. Betsy, right?
In age or
Age.
in actuality?
I mean,
Yeah.
She's probably in her 60s. And, like, watching them fight with an oar and a machete and roll around and hit each other, and I was just like, this could not have been safe.
You would think that they were both rubber, but that's still, like, easy to get injured on.
Oh, yeah. It's also kind of a shame that Betsy did not care for these movies. That she was like, I don't get it.
Well, I mean, it's not really... She's actually only 55 at the time of making part 2. So it's more of a Wilford Brimley situation. Which also, though, makes sense, because, like, in the first movie, we're not that far after Jason's death, if I recall correctly. And boy, I wish we were having this conversation with Ted and his encyclopedic knowledge of the franchises.
No, I think no, because Jason died in the 50s or 60s.
Okay, that's right. Jason dies in 1958, and then the first movie happens
1979 or 80. There's actually some
the actual movie comes out in 80, but I would buy either one of those years.
Yeah, well, I think I read online that 1979 didn't have a Friday the 13th. Like, there are very encyclopedic pages for this.
Yeah.
1979 didn't have a Friday the 13th in the summer. There was an April and an August, and people were like, there's no way it's August, so maybe it's April 1979.
Oh, I would buy August. Why are people throwing August in the trash?
Because there's no campers. There's no campers in part 1. So, like, why are there no campers in mid-August?
Okay.
But, like, April...
I guess it could be closing up camp. I don't know. I have no idea, and obviously the movie doesn't care to tell
Call
you
in,
that.
Ted. Tell us your thoughts.
Yes, Ted, fire up the tweet machine. But this movie jumps forward 5 years in time. So technically, if the other movie is 1980, this one is 1984.
Yeah, this already starts the confusing timeline
Yeah, okay. You are correct in the convolutedness. That is for sure true. We cut to Alice's house, and there's like a little phone fight with Mom, and then we end up with this reverse psycho gag in the shower. That. Yeah. I thought that was pretty awesome myself.
Well, especially because so much of Friday the 13th 1, what made it so effective was that it was a lot of POV stuff, like Halloween. A lot of times when you don't see something but the camera's moving, your brain goes, "Oh, I'm the killer right now."
Right.
And then the pullback, and it's her pulling the shower curtain back, being like, "I'm done with my shower now."
Yeah, I like that a lot. But this leads to her searching the apartment, and a really good jump scare with the cat that legitimately got me. I'd forgotten about that one. And culmination of this is, of course, Mama Voorhees' head inside the refrigerator.
There's a website called Dinosaur Dracula that actually
great website.
Freeze framed the moment with her head in the fridge and broke down what products were in there, and like also was like, oh, so this is Wonder Bread, and there was like a little picture of an 80s cutout of a circular for Wonder Bread and stuff like that.
That's delightful. She gets killed with a temple with an awl through the temple, and it is the first of several just really gnarly deaths in this movie. Like really, like most of these are so over the top they're borderline funny. These, a couple of them are like, ooh, this is like brute. It's like real slow, and she's all struggly.
I think in the first,
not what I'm looking for.
The first two, they weren't doing the fun.
There's some fun in this one, I would argue,
but it's
the
like
couple of
later
like,
they
ooh.
really just leaned into the silly.
Yeah, I
like
would.
By
I
Freddy
would agree
vs.
with that.
Jason, he's folds the dude in half like a taco in a trundle.
Right. I mean, there's the one in one of the later sequels with the kids in the sleeping bag, and they like hit the sleeping bag against the tree.
Oh, that was Jason X.
Well, he does it in Jason X, but it is a callback to him doing it in another movie in the franchise, and they also do it in the remake.
Yeah. I think originally they wanted it to be a like pick up one and beat the other with it, but they couldn't figure out the logistics, so they made it one swing against a tree, which like ended up being more scary.
Yeah, I would argue that the other one sounds like it would be kind of funny, frankly.
Yeah, and then we get a title explosion for some reason.
We do, yeah. It's kind of baffling, but it is a nice bit of score from the aforementioned Manfredini over the credit sequence. It's a long stretch of credits. It's a real, well, we got to get to 88 minutes. How can we find 3 minutes?
And we already put it previously on.
Yeah, exactly. Great shot of a payphone.
Oh, I was going to say we get a good license plate that says, "We're in New Jersey, baby."
Yeah. Both of those things are true. Anytime you catch a payphone on screen, it's an exciting time. And yes, this is a Jersey ass movie. That is for sure.
But filmed in Connecticut.
Well, yeah, of course. But the attitude I'm speaking of here.
And then it's an actual Exxon station. It's not just like gas.
Yeah. I think it was a situation where they like knocked on the door of this proprietor and were like, "Can we film your gas station?" He was like, "I don't care," and they gave him $20, you know. Or it was like, "We're gonna be here for 2 days. Our crew is gonna be buying drinks and snacks all the time," and he was like, "Yeah, that sounds great to me." It was in an era when you probably didn't have to call Exxon corporate. Like that would have been good enough. Like, well, Jerry at the filling station said it was fine, so
that's very true.
So they tow the car of our protagonists, and they're just like running down the street chasing it. And it turns out to be a gag. And I was like, man, it had been a long time since I watched this one. I remember, of course, that we did it in our episode on part 3. There's the one guy whose whole shtick is like, I'm doing gags.
Yeah.
But now watching this, I'm wondering if it was a situation where it was like somebody saw part 2 and was writing part 3 and was like, well, there's got to be gags in it, so I'll just make a whole character whose whole deal is gags.
Yeah, that's very true. But I don't think there's only like 2. I think there's only 2 gags in this movie.
Right. I just thought it was interesting. Like I didn't remember any, and this is a pretty big one.
Yeah, but again, so this is another like prank that is I think I would be fine with. Because it's resolved within like 2 minutes.
Right.
There's no like he has to go down to the DMV, whatever.
Right.
He turns the corner and his friends are like, haha, we got you.
Yeah. And that's it. Like that is the guy is taking it down from the truck actively at that moment. It's like, oh, I just want to mess with you. And she said he could do it. And I was like, okay. Like, yes. One of the very, like, as long as everybody laughs at the end, it's a prank. Otherwise, you're being mean. Mm-hmm. That is the problem. Like, most internet pranks are the second thing.
Exactly.
Did you notice the guy who is pulling the prank has just the widest belt loops I've ever seen? Like, not height of belt, but width along the pants.
No, I didn't notice that.
So, like, you know your standard pair of jeans or pants with belt loops? It's
pinky.
like about, or like a pen maybe. These are like 3 inches wide.
I've definitely, in my costuming experience, I've definitely seen pants like that. I just didn't notice that they were here, too.
I would see that as like something in a costume where you're like trying to kind of hide the belt, and like maybe you need to like make it not obvious that the character is wearing one for some obvious costuming reason. But these are just like a pair of short shorts this guy has on.
Yeah, it is. So it is that late 70s, early 80s costume vibe that I am super into.
Sure. Especially this woman who we meet momentarily. I was like, oh, Andrew probably would wear this exact outfit. After they find the camp sign, which of course is like, you got to find the camp sign. It's a Crystal Lake movie. Mm-hmm. She's wearing this Mickey Mouse cutoff t-shirt and shorts and just like bouncing all over the place.
Yes,
is
she
the
is.
kindest way I can put it. And I was like, wow, this person's only in this movie to be naked. I am sure of this.
The great bra shortage of the 80s.
81, yeah, they just stopped making them.
They also, so all the shorts are short. Like, they are like 3-inch inseam shorts on everybody, and it's great.
Yeah, it's an equal opportunity gam movie.
I love
This
it.
is just gams and gams and gams.
But one of them is a cargo short that short.
I did notice that.
I literally was like, they made cargo shorts that short?
I was trying to think of the logistics. Like, your inner pocket is probably the length of the whole pant leg, and which means like your pocket on the outside is on top of the pocket on the inside.
like a
And all I
lighter.
could think of,
You can put a lighter in there, and that's it.
yeah, exactly. Also, the woman who's jogging in the Mickey Mouse t-shirt and short shorts, she immediately gets shot in the butt by a slingshot from this Joaquin Phoenix discount guy.
So like I said, everyone's in 3-inch shorts, like all thigh, all day, except for Scott, who is wearing full jeans, boots,
Yes.
and a black button-up.
Yep. Well, he has to, put himself in a commanding position of authority.
Yeah, but like that's what he wears the whole movie. He doesn't do it in the beginning and then sort of like he dresses down with everyone. I'm like, you're melting. I know you're hot in that.
Oh, for sure. He's like a European.
Yes, exactly.
It just like don't wear shorts. I don't know. This is not like crass Americanism. Like, just European folks don't really wear shorts.
Yeah.
But I love that. Also, sorry, I wrote this down and didn't see it. Very specific reference here, but the discount Joaquin Phoenix guy who shoots the woman in the butt with the slingshot also is sort of like a dollar store version of the guy who's the lead singer of the band in That Thing You Do.
That's too deep of a cut for me.
Yeah, it's a deep cut. It's a deep cut. We're on the B side of the B side here, but for anybody who has not seen this movie but has seen that one. So we're doing counselor training, and my favorite part of this is he starts rattling off like what the things are going to be, and it's like first aid, swimming, survival training, and I was like, wait, survival training? What do you plan on doing at this camp?
Well, I think it could be like, building a fire with like 2 sticks and a shell or whatever.
A shell.
No, you put the shell on top, and then you have the stick like a bow and arrow wrapped around it.
Sure. I'm not sure there are a lot of shells at this lake is the problem.
The lake feeds into Manhattan. Remember that?
That's true.
So,
That's true.
Who knows what's in that lake?
I imagine I was recently playing this shark video game, Maneater, and there's a bit where you can like hop out of the water onto land, and there's a series of things you have to do in which you're like hopping from pond to pond, and all I could think of was the boat in Jason Goes to Manhattan or Jason Takes Manhattan having like a hold on everyone, shoom, poosh, shoom, poosh,
That feels
as
very
it jumps
theme
from
park,
pond
like,
to pond.
Everybody hold on, and all the seats start rumbling.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, and then they would spray you with the water as you splash down repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought that was lovely. They're just like, you're never going to be more than 150 meters from your campsite. But if you manage to get lost in that distance, we will have you covered.
He also says, he's talking about like bear safety, and is like, women, keep clean
Yes.
during your menstrual cycle. And I was like,
Yes.
wow, we really knew that little? Like in 1980, we knew that little?
It's actually true.
Is it?
Yeah. Women who are having their period are more attractive to bears. That is a fact.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought that
I
was
mean,
like a fake, like when they say that about sharks, which which has been debunked.
But maybe it's not true for sharks, but
I mean, you are the more national park guy, so I will defer to you on this one.
yeah, I feel like, okay, so this has not been completely answered, but there is no evidence that they're overly attracted to women on their period versus other things. So I guess I got some bad information. I'm glad I
Glad this
checked.
came up.
Yeah, no, I've learned a thing. I said something very authoritatively and then immediately was like, you don't know that answer. You're just saying it confidently. That is a big no-no, buddy. So yeah, no, the food thing is definitely
Oh, yeah,
true, though.
the bear
He's like,
boxes.
he gotta, yeah.
And we get Chekhov's child psychology.
Yeah, this is also a weird one for counselors, but it was very interesting.
But well, no, she wasn't teaching. She's not teaching. She's just like he just makes fun of her because she's getting a degree in child psychology.
Yes, and right at around this, I don't know if it's happened already, but one of the women walking up to, or maybe it's, I don't know if it's a man or a woman actually. One of the counselors in this scene has a T-shirt on that just says Bala Kindle.
Yeah, I wrote that down.
Caught that? Yeah. It's like, representing our neck of the woods.
Bella.
So we go to a campfire and we get the, hey, let me explain Jason to you, which is done so well in this movie that part 4 literally just picks up this whole scene and drops it into their movie.
Really?
Yep. The previously on Jason montage in part 4 just includes this scene. It's just like, I'm going to clip and paste. There we go.
This is where we learn that it's been 5 years since the first movie, which is like kind of a weird choice.
Yeah, no, it is odd. And then the other thing that I really found interesting is, and I meant to bring this up when we were talking to Ted, and he made this point a little bit, but so this is the camp in this movie is like across the lake from Camp Crystal Lake or some distance from it.
Yeah, I think I wrote that down later, that we're not at Camp Crystal Lake, we're across from Camp Crystal Lake.
But that is the plot of like every kids movie, summer camp, slobs v snobs movie, right? It's always like there's the camp we're at, which is where the losers are, and then across the lake there's either the cool kids or the athletes or the whatever they are.
The girls' camp.
The rich camp, the girls' camp. Yeah, whatever it is always the camp across the lake. Like, I believe it's Heavyweights where they're at the fat camp. The camp across the lake is like a jock camp, and then they have to have like a big...
I thought it was a girls' camp because they have the dance.
They do have the dance, but okay, am I...
Or maybe there's 3 lakes.
Mixed up?
Or maybe there's 3 camps.
Is the end of Heavyweights the like competition where like some of it is athletics, some of it is go-kart driving, some of it is like trivia? I remember distinctly the British kid knowing all of the American vice presidents and just like poning the jock guy. And I swear it's Heavyweights.
It's been so long since is that on Disney Plus?
Probably.
It's been so long since I've seen Heavyweights. I remember the middle where they have the dance with the girls across the lake and the candy stash, and that's kind of it.
Okay. I'm almost positive there's a jock camp across the lake because that's what I kept thinking of.
That sounds
like,
right.
If this is like in this scenario, it's like we've got our camp full of kids, and across the lake we have a murderer camp, and it's like Jason teaching a bunch of psychos. It's like the worst version of a pickup artist class that you've ever seen.
Jason's teaching like, a bunch of Damians and rodents.
Yeah.
Children of
it's
the
like
damned.
How to make your fort, and it's like Jason with a hammer and nails and just like pounding. And that's how he got. We see later in the movie his thumb. He's got that big blood blister under his thumb. It's like Jason was teaching a class on fort building, and he whacked his thumb with a hammer.
Or one of the kids hit him.
Yeah, it could have been that.
And we get a fun prank again, the second and last of the movie.
Yeah, this prank less fun to me. I would not laugh very hard at this prank.
I mean, it's just it's less of a prank and more of a scare, which I think are conflated in today's world.
Yes.
Mark, the trickster, kind of pops out with a spear and all dressed up like I don't know, in fur, like a caveman.
He's wearing a fur over top of him, like it felt like a Bob's Burgers bit to me, honestly. Like something I could see Gene doing, where he'd like put his hands and the wolf head over his, and be like, "I am the king of the forest now."
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Totally.
But yeah, it is nice. And then of course this leads to.
Oh no, it wasn't Mark. I saw the word mask and thought Mark. It's not Mark.
Oh right. But so this story is all like Jason is alive out there. They do this big jump scare, and then like the head of the camp stands up. He's like, all right. We had our fun. This is just a story. It's all bullshit. Ignore it. If the kids start telling it, make sure you tell them that they're going to get themselves scared.
And nobody is allowed to talk about it anymore. Right.
We cut inside for the like, okay, we've had our campfire. Let's hang out some more bits. And I love this character. I didn't do names here well enough.
I do. Who is it? And I'll tell you who it is.
Well, I know she's the one who's dunking on Paul in chess, and I believe Paul's the camp owner.
Is it Ginny?
Maybe it's Ginny, but she's like absolutely. He's like real smug mansplaining.
She's the
like,
lead. Yeah, it's Ginny.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's like, well, you see, I'm going to move my queen here, and that puts you in check. And she goes like, clunk, checkmate. And he's like, what? And he looks down at the board, and she just like walks away. I just loved it so much.
Yeah. We get an excellent... There's a lot of great shadow work in this movie.
Yes.
Where it's just a shot of the outside, and it's very like Nosferatu. Like you just see the shadow of Jason walk across the front of the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
A real weird moment between Ginny and Paul where he like busts into her cabin and like grabs her, and for a moment you're like, ooh, and then she's into it and you're like,
They're having like a secret affair in which Paul's fetish is just getting absolutely pwned in chess.
Yes. We forgot Crazy Ralph is here. He tried to warn the kids not to show up to the camp.
Right, you gotta have a Crazy Ralph if you're gonna have a slasher movie.
And then Crazy Ralph gets garroted with barbed wire, which is a rough way to go.
This one is also really gnarly. There's no fun in this murder.
I think it's part 4. Maybe it's 3 or 4 where he garrots someone again, but this time with a leather belt. It's whatever one has the smiley face on the tree moment.
Yeah. You're definitely right. But that one is more absurd. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like a leather belt is more ridiculous. So we're running in the woods, and there's my favorite edit of this movie. Well, one of 2, but this one is the better of the 2, I think. We're looking for this lost dog, and the character's like calling for her dog and calling for her dog and calling for her dog. And then we see the dog go running by like toward where Jason is, and it cuts immediately from the dog to hot dogs cooking on the grill, which I was like, oh man, this rules. This is so good. And she immediately, like, someone's like, hey, come back for lunch. And she's like, oh, okay. Like immediately just ditches her search for her lost dog to go eat a hot dog.
We also see a very tiny chainsaw, and it's like, hey, look at this.
Bet we'll see that later.
And then this is also what I noticed. I was like, there are 10 counselors here, maybe 12. And this is like a counselor training session. So, but like, there's 12 counselors. This isn't profitable. Who's paying? Like, are camps sending their counselors? Are people going to be like, I want to be a counselor, so train me? Like, what do we think that is?
Well, I mean, feeding these folks for like a weekend before the kids come isn't much of a big deal.
But they're not all from one. It's not one. It's not explained that they're one camp. They are here training to be counselors at a counselor training seminar.
See, I didn't get that at all. I got that this was a bunch of counselors that he hired, because he says, he's like, some of you, this is your first summer, some of you have been counselors for a long time, yada, yada, yada. So I got the impression it was like he's opening a new camp and he hired a bunch of experienced counselors. Therefore, they have worked at other camps, but they are now working for him.
Maybe. I watched it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's the impression that I got anyway. Speaking of Chekhov's, this is a total aside, and I'll be quick about it, but I recently watched the Black Christmas from last year.
Oh yeah, I heard it was meh.
I liked it. There's some parts of it that I thought were a little heavy-handed, but I thought it was cool. It was like an interesting feminist take on horror. But there's this shot early in the movie where you see this crystal unicorn with a horn that's like 17 inches long and like razor sharp pointed.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh sweet, like Chekhov's unicorn. Is there a unicorn? I don't remember.
Yeah, she gets stabbed with the glass unicorn in the first one.
I thought it was an icicle. Okay, well then it was a reference to that movie. But I missed that. Then that's on me. But it was this like huge unicorn that was in the shot for like just long enough, and I was like, oh man, someone's gonna get it with that unicorn. And then you see it happen for like a flash of a second, like kind of in the background of a scene, and I was like, oh man, you can't Chekhov's and then like put it in the background. That's Come on, movie. Yeah. Anyway, some of the kids sneak off from swimming, and the redhead is there. A lot of
great 80s bathing suits.
Yes, very short. What is that called? The leg length?
The inseam.
Inseam. Very short inseams. A lot of thighs.
Skies out, thighs out.
The redhead is like wearing a colander, like sort of in a Jughead way.
I didn't catch that. Is he the prankster?
Yeah.
He's like ripped.
Yeah, he is very muscular.
You took your top off and this happened. Because so far, I think Mark and Scott are the hottest, and then he took his shirt off, and I was like, oh, hey.
Yeah, there's a bunch of really fairly ripped for 1981 guys in this one. But these two characters, so we got Jeff and we got Sandra. They're looking for Crystal Lake, and then they eventually are sort of chased by Jason, maybe, and they stumble across the dog, which is like, barely anything left of it kind of situation.
And we get kind of a Raimi-esque run through the woods shot.
Yeah, we do. But they're looking at this very clearly dead dog, and he's like, "What is it?" And she's like, "I don't know." And the two of them are like baffled at trying to figure out what animal it is.
They figure out within a few minutes that it's the dog, Muffy, maybe.
But they're never like super declarative about like, "Oh, this is our friend's dog."
Oh, I thought they were.
Some time with. I don't believe so, because maybe I'm wrong, but I don't believe that they definitively identify Muffy.
They get grabbed by the sheriff because they find his hut, right? Or are they just on Crystal Lake property and the sheriff is like,
I think they're at the hut, but not in the hut.
Because the sheriff shows up and he's like, "Hey, you kids," and he takes them back to their counselor training seminar, and he's like, "Would you knock it off?"
And there's like a really delightful dick measuring contest between this sheriff and Paul, where there's like, at the end of it, the sheriff's like, they're not going to be punished. And Paul turns to his assistant, Ginny, and he's like, "Make sure they don't get double desserts tonight." I thought that was so good.
But this cop is like, hey, basically like, "Hey, we're letting you host a camp counselor training seminar at the same lake where there were vicious murders 5 years ago and a kid drowned 25 years before that. I think you can give me a little respect when I ask your counselors not to go over to the murder site." That seems real easy.
You know, what you just said there was interesting to me, because if this movie takes place in 1981 when it is set, that puts the Camp Crystal Lake Jason stuff in 1976. Which is like 21 years after Jason drowned, which I would believe.
No, it's 5 years after Camp Crystal Lake 1, which would be 1980.
Right, that movie came out in 1980, but I was saying based on the timeline that you just said, pulling numbers out of thin air, would make the first movie take place in 1976.
Oh.
Which would make sense. It would be about 20 years after Jason drowned. Anyway.
And then the sheriff gets killed. Real quick.
Well, okay. He does, but I do want to talk about the lights on the sheriff's car are the biggest police type lights I have ever seen in anything in my entire life. It looks like he beheaded the Great Gazoo from the Flintstones and put his bubble head, like two of them, on top of his car. It's bonkers. It's like taller, like by almost double the height of like a Domino's or Papa John's light sign you see a pizza delivery guy put on top of his car. It's like double the height of that and then like double the width. It's a solid 24 inches high off the top of his car. If he goes fast enough, the thing could take off. It'd be like a little wing.
Or they're just going to get knocked backwards into whoever's driving behind him.
Exactly. This seems insane. I could not believe how big they were. If we can find it, we should do a screen grab of that and put our heads on it for the art for this episode, because that is how absurd it is.
But Jason gets him by doing a Bigfoot and like running, like he sees him like on the side of the road running, and he takes off after him.
Yeah, he sees like this burlap masked man running through the woods and takes off. He goes into Jason's shack, actually, and they do a little bit of a cat and mouse before he gets just a gnarly kill with the hammer.
Oh, God. So we cut back to the counselors, and some of them decide to go into town for the night, which just might save their life.
This is why I think the counselors are working for him, because this is pitched as like a last night in town before the kids arrive and you're not allowed to do this anymore kind of thing.
Oh, that's fair. I was thinking it more like it's your, like, hey, last night of this, like last night of fun before the session's over tomorrow or whatever. And then, but again, I don't know.
They head into town. The redhead, by the way, is named Ted. Because we talked about Ted with Ted. The Mickey Mouse girl is now wearing a cut-off long-sleeve shirt. So it's like a long-sleeve, sort of like thermal-looking thing, but cut off just under her breasts. And I'm like, what is the end goal of this outfit?
I have crop hoodies. I have long-sleeve crops.
You wear them for fashionable reasons, one would assume. This girl is like putting on something warm to take a stroll in the chill of the summer evening.
Well, she also needs to make sure her nipples are prominent before her swim.
Yeah, you can literally see all of this girl. Before she takes her clothes off, which she does, and this movie has absolute full frontal nudity multiple times, but you can see this girl's every bit of her whole body before she takes her clothes off.
It's like a comic book, like a female comic book character, how the clothes are just painted on.
Yes, and so we cut from this to the crew arriving at the bar where they're going to hang out.
It says casino, which confused
It does say casino. Yes, it does. But the thing about this that I found so delightful is they make like a huge deal about like, oh, we only have 2 cars, so there's not that much space. And there's like 9 people just sitting in the back of the pickup truck. Like any number of people could have gone in there.
Yeah,
like,
it's very, I don't know why that happened.
So we cut back, and this is the full frontal with this actress who is about to get it from Jason, and we cut from her to so at this point we have a small group left behind to sort of guard the camp.
Yeah, I think we got 5 people.
Yeah, 5 feels
it's
right.
Mark and his paramour, the couple, and then the skinny dipping girl.
Right. And Mark is, we haven't mentioned before, Mark is the cast member who is in a wheelchair. And this movie, we talked about this a bit with Ted, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, assuming people are going to listen to both these things. But it is stunning how well this character is treated in this movie. Like, he's not a punchline. He's not the butt of any jokes. It's just like, this character happens to be in a wheelchair.
He doesn't go careening down a cliff into some water because of an alien. Like,
okay, but he does go careening down some stairs, like very
after he's
shortly
dead,
from
though.
now. Yeah.
Which to me feels okay. But he's just like,
but they're doing arm wrestling.
Yeah, he's jacked. His arms are jacked from being in a wheelchair, and so he's arm wrestling everybody. And I didn't write down her name. There's the girl at the camp who just is so forward and so confident with him, and I love it. Because that's not something like you think about when you think about horror slashers or even Friday the 13th, to be frank, that she's just like, hey, you, stick it in me. Does it work? Great. Let's go.
Yeah, no, it's really delightful.
She's like Blanche Devereaux meets Mae West.
The wiki says there are 6 people at camp, but so it's Jeff and Sandra, Vicky, Mark, Scott, and Terry.
Oh, I didn't realize there were 3 couples.
Yeah.
Oh, because Scott was with the skinny dip. Scott and the skinny dip girl are the couple.
Right.
Also, there is a full flash of vag in this movie.
That's what I just said. It's full frontal nudity.
Oh yeah, I did. I don't want
2 times.
My brain didn't think that. God forbid you show a flash of wang, but full vag. Like,
there's not even a boy butt. Like, why is she skinny dipping alone? They could be skinny dipping together.
Yeah, exactly.
Equal opportunity, disgusting nudity, if you must have it.
Like sleepaway camp.
Right. Which is a drunken commentary track you can check out at patreon.com/dissectingthe80s.
Yeah. She puts her clothes immediately on without toweling off, and I was just like, I hate this.
Absolute psycho. Scott is a big creep still. Scott is the aforementioned slingshot to the butt man, by the way.
Yeah, full jeans, full boots.
Yes.
He gets caught in is it a bear trap? I see them called bear snares, but like I've never seen a bear in one of those.
I believe it's a bear trap. I've only ever seen it in movies in a really nasty way, but yes, it is, I believe, a bear trap.
Yeah, I've only ever seen people in comedies or horror movies get stuck in these.
Yes, exactly that. But this isn't a bear trap. This is an actual snare. He steps in a rope.
That's
and
right.
Hangs him upside down. Okay, I believe this is just called a snare. I've never heard it attached to bear. Sorry, I was getting movies confused. Bear trap is usually the
clampers,
the metal clamper thing. This is just a snare, designed to like incapacitate. Because like you can get a deer with a snare or something like that. Basically,
I guess I should say I've never seen an animal in a snare in a movie. I've only ever seen people in comedies and horror movies.
Well, they're generally designed to like hang and kill the animal, so it's not like a pleasant thing to watch. Like the idea is you hang the loop at their head height and they get their head stuck in it, and then the tree launches and snaps and breaks their neck.
Because I've only ever seen it in horror movies.
I think that's
comedies,
how it works.
I'm like, if it's designed to string up an animal's legs.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen survivalist type shows and movies where people make them to catch like rabbits and stuff. And I don't know that I don't know that maybe they are maybe it just catches them and you kill them after. Like that would make, I guess, more sense because if they were dead, they'd probably get eaten by something else. So maybe it's not designed to kill them necessarily, but just like incapacitate animals is the intended use of these. I don't think you see a lot of them in other situations because it's just not really like a situation most people find themselves in. Like you're not necessarily unless you're living in the woods long term.
What was that movie about the father and daughter who were living in the woods and then they got a house by the social workers?
The like real depressing one with Ben, what's his face?
Ben something.
Yeah. Blonde guy who was in that X-Men movie is the Angel.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know the name of it, but it's a sad movie. It's a weird pull for the Jokey Joke podcast.
I don't know.
No, it's fine. I just was like, there must be another movie he's referencing. The one you're talking about is like a sad, serious drama about PTSD. About people who
live in the woods.
No, yeah, they probably had snares in that movie.
Hottie Scotty dies, obviously.
Well, there's also like a weird fourth wall break right before he cuts his throat in the snare.
I didn't catch that.
Jason looks like down the barrel of the camera. He spikes. That's what it's called, right? Spikes the camera, I believe so. Is the term in the industry. Yeah, there's a weird like spike to camera with Jason. There's two of them in this movie. The second one comes later when is it Ginny? It's when Ginny is in the dark room. We'll get to it later, but she like does this weird thing where she like ducks down and then back up and is looking right down the barrel of the camera.
Huh. I guess I didn't catch those as being, fourth wall breaking.
Right. And then so Scott gets his throat cut, and then the other person who is stuck behind, I guess this is Vicky.
Yes, Vicky went skinny dipping. So yes, I think.
No, Terry. Sorry, okay. Terry went skinny dipping. Vicky is the one who gets it with the kitchen knife in the thing in a minute.
Yeah, she's Mark's girlfriend.
Yes. So Terry is the skinny dipper, I believe, is the one who finds dead Scott, and then so she screams, and we get the impression Jason's going to kill her, and then the scream. This is the other great edit, and we talked about this in the other episode, so I won't get too into it. But this is the first movie edited by Sean Cunningham's wife. But there's two really solid edits in this, and this is the second one that I really like. I think her name is Betsy. I'm going to look it up as I said it in the other episode. But she screams, and as she's screaming, it cuts to the wailing of a guitar solo at the bar.
Yeah, that is excellent. And then we cut to the counselors at the bar sort of speculating about Jason. And this is where Ginny gets all child psych and seems like super compassionate for Jason.
Yes. Amy Steele makes an absolute meal out of this Jason backstory speech. Like, you talk about someone chewing the scenery. She's got the scenery, the lights, the sound guy's boom mic. Like, it's just like rah, 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 chomping down.
Yes, it's great.
She was like, I am going to be on The Young and the Restless or General Hospital. So help me God. Let me get a hang of this speech.
I will replace someone else on a soap opera soon, please.
Right. Susan Cunningham, by the way, is the editor of this movie. Really solid job for a movie that is. This movie has some cool edits in it that I really liked in the sort of Edgar Wright ballpark.
Yeah, exactly. I wrote that Jeff, the hat guy, is a Spirit Halloween John Travolta, and
definitely
his girlfriend Sandra is Discount Sue Snell from Carrie, who I think is Amy Irving.
Well, all the men ignore her speech because, of course, they do.
Yeah, they're at the bar, and the prankster guy is like collecting bottles as she's basically turns into Quint from Jaws, talking about.
I don't think he's collecting bottles, unless you mean collecting bottles to mean that he is drinking his face off.
I don't think he's drank 15 to 30 beers. Like, I don't.
There's 45 beers in front of this guy, and he can barely stand up.
Which is why I think he probably had like 7 or 8, but I don't think he had all of them.
I think Ted has got like a hollow leg situation.
Oh, I thought he was just like grabbing them from down the bar. Like, hey, slide me that bottle.
I think like, Ted is hammered. I think Ted is just totally
I think he is too, but he's also a weirdo.
Because that's how he doesn't die. Spoilers. He gets so drunk he can't leave the bar. Like
that's the thing is that like all the other counselors who were at the bar didn't go home.
That's true. That's true. Although some of them do at the end, I thought. No?
I don't think so. I thought it was just Ginny and Ginny and Paul who go back. I thought.
Okay. Maybe that's right. So the teens, the one couple at this point is getting hot and heavy. They sneak off to bed. This is when the other character, I believe it's
Mark and Vicky.
Yeah, Mark and Vicky. She's like very bluntly like, "Do your legs work? How about your penis?" So just like no beating around this bush.
She holds up a hot dog and a donut, and she's like gives him a wink as she puts them together. Like, hey,
yes,
huh?
Yes.
And she in her brain, in her head canon goes, "I'm gonna get laid at a camp in the summertime. Better go put on my giant wool sweater, and basic brown panties, and then a full bottle of perfume."
Well, she changes into definitely nicer, like sexier seeming material.
Those were boring, basic ass brown pants.
But they were silky looking. Like she has on like cotton underpants. And so then it's like, oh, these are a little silky looking. Va va voom. This is the best pair of underwear I brought to camp with me.
Like these JC Penney looking.
I mean, look, there was a different time, okay? There was not this many lingerie options. We get our requisite Friday the 13th special skills section of your resume portion of the movie where we get a little harmonica playing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She starts making out with Mark, and then they try to figure out they figured out which cabin to go to.
And then that's when she goes to get changed and Mark.
Right.
This is where you realize
so Jason's
Mark's
watching
die.
her. Oh, yeah. Jason is watching. Yeah. She's searching for her hairbrush at this point without having put any pants on. So she's just wearing the nicer underwear that she dug out of the drawer and the sweater and is like, "Oh, where is my hairbrush?" And all I could think of was the VeggieTales. Do you remember
song.
This? Okay. That is a Christian vegetable-based... a vegetable-based Christian children's video that you used to watch, but I remember one of the songs just hitting me funny, and I still think it's funny, like that the cucumber,
Larry the cucumber. He was silly songs with Larry, and there was the intermission of your morality tale,
right? And it was like, where's my hairbrush? And it turns out that Larry the tomato.
Why do you need a hairbrush? You don't have any hair.
I gave it to the peach.
What could this mean? No hair?
I don't know. I just remember vividly like...
No, that you're right. He gave it to the peach.
I would just remember the punchline being, "I give it to the peach because you have no hair." And I think about that every time I eat a peach or use a hairbrush. But she's looking for a hairbrush with no pants on, which is a move that like only happens in quarantine where you're like, are these underwear nice enough to go outside in? Probably.
Will these pass as shorts?
Yeah, I have to take the recycling out. I'm not wearing shorts. Can I get away? They're black. No one's going to know. Mm-hmm. So Marcus starts looking for his date, and he gets a machete to the face.
When you stop and think about it, it's annoying because he would have clearly seen the person holding the machete.
Yeah. You would think he would see. You would think he would see Jason, but he can't really do anything at that point. You know what I mean?
It's just very like there's no. It's when you're watching it, it's him from behind, and then all of a sudden, from like in a pretty close, 3/4 shot. Would that be shoulders up?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that seems about right.
All of a sudden, from off frame left, the hand swings in with the cleaver, and it's like, oh, where did you come from?
Yeah, and then so he dies quickly, and he goes tumbling down the stairs like
a staircase that I don't remember, that like we've never seen before.
No, and it's like longer than the Exorcist stairs. And my favorite part is I was just saying nice things about her editing, but this is a legitimate knock. There's this ridiculous zoom on him,
crash zoom.
Yeah, just like real hard zoom to him as he falls down the stairs, which I found very funny.
Yeah. So then we cut to the two lovers.
I wrote fornicators. You're very generous.
Well, they were like a couple. It looks like Jeff is taking a nap on her.
Yes. This doesn't look like anyone is having that good of a time.
Well, they are teenagers, so...
Yeah. But Jason gets both of them at the same time.
Yeah, he shows up in his Town That Feared Sundown mask and picks up the spear, which I've never seen that movie. It's on my list.
All right, we'll pause. Finish the thought.
Picks up the spear from the prank and then kebabs them both and the bed.
It's a really great Friday the 13th murder. Like, really great kill, delightful. This is, like, exactly
Primo.
what you want out of a Jason Voorhees. This is where they're starting to get it, right? Like, this is absurd. This is what we want out of this. It's, like, more silly. Briefly, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, both the original and the remake, are excellent. The first movie is super, super fun to watch. I actually caught it a couple years ago on Turner Classic Movies, of all things. So it had that great intro by the guy whose name I can't remember, who just died fairly recently. But one of the things I've always wanted to do for like a magazine article is that movie, both of them take place in Texarkana, Arkansas, which is like right on the border of Arkansas and Texas. And every year, the last movie that their municipality shows for their summer movie series is The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Oh.
And it's the town loves it the way that like we love the Blob in the Phoenixville area.
That's cool.
Well, Phoenixville loves the Blob. Obviously, we're not from Phoenixville. But both movies super hold up. And the second movie is like it's like sort of a continuation,
like a requel, right?
Yes. Like the things that happened in the first movie are like part of the through line. I watched them as a double feature, and I highly recommend watching it that way. It was a super fun night of movies.
Okay.
I don't know if they're streaming anywhere right now, but
I think they are. I believe I've seen at least one of them on Xfinity.
Okay. They feel like stuff that would be on Tubi.
Yeah, at least the original feels Tubi.
Yeah, but they're both really delightful. Really fun movies. I liked both of them quite a lot. But yes, it is a Town That Dreaded Sundown mask that Jason is wearing.
And then
it turns out it's on Prime right now.
Which one?
The original.
Oh, great. Maybe that'll be what I watch tonight.
And the other one is just available for rent. But like I said, the second one isn't as good, but the first one I really like. There's a really gnarly trombone thing. Yeah.
I read the wiki for the requel, and it said it was like it recreates the iconic trombone from the first movie, and I was like, huh?
It's cool. It's a good movie. I recommend both to you and listeners to check out The Town That Dreaded Sundown. It's from 1974 and 2014, so it'll never be on this show.
Well, don't say never. There are leap years.
Well, yes, but leap years are for specific things, which is like me torturing you or you torturing me, and I just feel like this doesn't do either. So at this point we cut back to the bar, and Ted is like swaying on his feet after his 200th beer, and he's looking for an after hours club, which is like really telling you how drunk he is.
I'm also like, girl, where do you think you are?
Have you ever been to an after hours place?
Yeah, in Philly.
Okay, cool. I was like, you're cooler than me and probably would have done this. I have never, ever been to something like this.
There's...
Are they clubs or is
clubs.
it just a bar?
It's a club.
So you have to be a member?
No. Oh, no. It's not like it's like a club, like a dance club. It's not like a membership thing.
But do they serve alcohol after closing time?
So I guess we call it after hours because it's open till 4.
But do they stop serving alcohol at like 2?
No, not that I know of. I remember for a while it was like there was a tray of hot dogs in the corner, and it was like, they're available for purchase. Don't purchase. Please don't purchase. So like they got, that's how, I remember hearing that that's how they got away with it.
I see.
But I remember there's a local drag competition that happens there, and the competition usually goes to like 1 or 2, and then from 2 to 4 is the like, hey, it's just dancing and drinking.
Yeah, so my impression of an after hours club is like you have to be a member, but because you're a member, they can serve alcohol to you after hours.
Oh, I never realized that
was, yeah. Your thing also sounds like I've been too old for it since the day I was born, but the same general vibe applies for sure. So Jason is hiding under the bed, in the bed, right? And he
he does. He
this
pulls
is when he does
Jessica
to like
Parker
sit up
in Hocus Pocus.
Yes, well, I give it the Michael Myers. He does the Michael Myers sit up under the sheets. He does the like, where you just.
Oh, I
like,
thought it was more of a she
waist.
pulls the sheets off and he pops up.
Well, he does, but you're right. Sorry. So, but once she does it, he does a sit up like Michael Myers or the Undertaker,
true.
where it's like from the waist only. Snap up.
And that's Vicky, right? And he just stabs her in the face.
Right. And this is where you see his gross thumb, where he clearly like at some point during the filming of this got a blood blister.
Those are so gross.
They hurt so bad, and yeah.
And then you just have to watch it grow out and pop out your thumbnail.
Yeah, it's horrible.
The weirdest
it's all
feeling.
Bad. I'm getting like squeamish just thinking about it.
I did it to my thumb in the theater department truck latch thing in college.
Barf. Barf, 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 barf.
So Ginny comes home with Paul and finds a bloody empty bed. And Paul's like, they're goofing. What?
She just like stands and watches him get killed. Like Jason pops out and is murdering Paul, and she's just like do something, Ginny.
I also wrote that her reactions are not big enough for this scene.
Right.
And then we get the scene from Mean Girls.
Which one?
Where she after Jason pops up and attacks or kills. I think just attacks Paul. She runs to another cabin and like shuts the door and like slowly like tries to get her bearings. And it's the scene that Janice, Ian, and Damien are watching when Katie bursts through the door on Halloween.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Because Katie comes in the room as soon as Jason smashes through the window.
Yeah, that is him through the window is scary as hell.
Oh, totally. And they get a great pitchfork through the door scare.
Yeah, I like that shot a lot. It's really well put together.
And so she tries to run.
He does a little Jack Torrance action, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's Jason.
She tries to run away to the car, but of course it's a ragtop. I feel like ragtops were super common before 1990.
Yeah. The old ones where like there was no foam in there, nothing to like pad the noise. It was just basically a bit of cloth. It's just like you could punch
some
through
burlap
it.
and canvas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Jason tries to cut through the roof, and it's just a very weird, dreamy Final Girl circuit.
Yeah, this whole sequence from like Paul to the end is kind of like cat and mousey in the way that I find a little tedious. Although I will say, did we talk about the part where like they're in the dark room and she's like, he's in here. That happens right before he kills Paul, right?
He kills Paul.
Okay. That is one of the coolest shots in any of the Friday the 13th, or sequences rather. Agree. It's not really a shot. It's a dark room. You can't see a damn thing, which is scary to begin with. Like your own house is scary in the dark, but she's in like an unfamiliar place. And then she just knows, right? Like she's just like, oh my God, I can feel that this maniac is in here with us. And so she's screaming about it, but there's no lights on. And so you and the audience can kind of see where Jason is, but even you are not 100% sure. It's just a really great sequence. It's one of the best Friday the 13th sequences flat out.
So cutting back to where we were, she's hiding under a bed. She also screams like Dorothy Gale a lot. I didn't realize it until I was like, oh, that's a Dorothy Gale scream. Like when she's in the twister and she gets hit in the back with the shutters.
Right.
But she's hiding under a bed, and then she pees. She's so scared she pees, and like that always
because of a rat.
Oh, I didn't realize the rat was what did it. That weirds me out.
But like at this point, you watched your friend get murdered. You saw this other dead body. You were close enough to Jason to knee him in the balls a second ago. Like you smelled his weird. Like this man has never showered. He must have the worst odor in the history of odors.
Oh, of course.
And the thing that finally is like, you know what? My bladder can't take it anymore. Is a rat. Like she should have been eating that thing at this point. Just like taking a bite out of this
just
bastard.
Crack its back.
Right. She's like, I thought you tasted like pizza. Where are my coins for the games?
Where are the turtles, Master Splinter?
No. Oh, I meant Chuck E. Cheese.
I know that, but I went somewhere else.
Okay.
So this is where we get the payoff of the tiny chainsaw. And then she also breaks a chair over his back, because why not?
It is some straight up WWE business. It is a delight. It's like breakaway chair, Chris Farley style, just like smash. I love that so much. That goes on that. So like obviously Extra, who's had a head injury and has a head bandage, is number one for me. But Extra, who gets smashed with a chair or bottle in a bar fight, also high on the list.
So you don't want to swing the chair. You want to get hit with the chair.
I want to get hit with the chair, yeah, or the bottle over my head. Like I want to receive the thing. I think it's you get more screen time if you get hit versus doing the hitting.
So she runs away into his little fort,
which drives me crazy. It's like there's a chainsaw right there, girl. Gut this man like a fish.
Well, I think she did use the chainsaw and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And there's a hockey stick that he's used to build his fort, and I was like, a lovely little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah. I don't think it, like, I think that was accidental foreshadowing, but it is great. And also stands to what we talked about with Ted and what we have said for years as well, of like the best Friday the 13th thing they haven't done is like put this mofo on an ice, like let's get it icy. Let's have an iced up lake.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember. I think there is a scary movie where someone gets like run over with a Zamboni or like something, or their body's in the back, and then the Zamboni drives and it's like all blood out the back.
There is, it might be Zombieland. It is definitely, I definitely know exactly what you're talking about. I just can't remember what it is, but there is a very funny moment where the guy gets run over by a Zamboni. I'll find it. I don't think it's a horror movie though.
Okay. So she is in his room, his secret chamber where he's got, I guess she does know that it's his mother was involved, right?
It's Deadpool.
I didn't see Deadpool, so I must be thinking of a different movie.
The clip went viral.
Okay.
He shoots a guy and the guy's like crawling and Deadpool's like very slowly driving a Zamboni behind him. He's like, "You're gonna get killed by a Zamboni."
But this is one of my only complaints is that she very quickly adapts to this plan of let me put on a this gnarly ass sweater.
Yeah, she puts on this sweater that at this point is like mostly moth. And then she like drops her face so she's like 6 inches away from the crusted up head of Mama Voorhees that's on this table like a bowling ball. And then she starts tucking her hair into the collar to like match her hairdo. It's wild how quickly she comes up with this plan and then gets very specific.
Yeah, like this is beyond I'm a child psych student. This is
yes.
Crazy town.
Yeah, so, no, it's delightfully weird.
Rather than take the head off the table, she just stands in front of it.
Yes, and it starts being like, "You're all done now, Jason. Mama is very proud of you and all the murdering you did."
I think that's what like. Why would she assume that Jason is putting his mother on a table because she wants him to murder? Like why?
I have no idea. It makes
it's
absolutely
such a
no
weird
sense.
jump to have gone to.
Yes. Jason, like, for a minute is like, "Oh, yeah, Mom." And then is like, "Now, wait a second."
Because he sees her head.
Right.
And the spell is broken. And then Paul tries to mansplain the day, and Ginny has to save his ass.
Yeah, then she gets him in the shoulder with a machete right good, buries this thing in there. And there's like all this eye rolling and just ridiculous business. And then she takes off Jason's mask, but we don't get to see it.
Yes. And then we see the dog come back. And like this is where Ted has some very interesting theories that I won't talk about because I want you to go listen to him because he's way more eloquent about these theories.
Yeah, Ted's end of the movie theory is delightful. I did not put this together on my own. It would be,
but I love it.
Straight up thievery. It is. Yeah, no, I think he's right, but it's very interesting. My favorite part of this, though, which we didn't get into with Ted, is Paul like knocks her over basically, and then carries her a little bit, which I just like. It looks like he shoves her and trips her, and then he's like, "Oh, let me help you." And I was like, "What? You knocked her over in the first place."
So a slow-mo Jason attack, because that's how these movies end, with a very weird-looking Jason. He's got like a beard and red hair, right?
Yes, yeah, he's got a real mountain man look. Like he looks like the kind of if you were to go on a cheap dark ride at like a boardwalk and it was like the scary mine. This picture like what one of the miners, he'd be having a jug of moonshine and be like, "Y'all best be careful going down in there," and it would be like real janky robot. That's what he would look like.
And so we then cut to a slow push in on Mama Voorhees, and the way this head, because I think this head looks different than the rest of the movie head.
I do too.
I think it looks like a person in makeup, and I thought it was going to open its eyes.
Every single time I watch this movie, I think it's going to open its eyes. And I'm like, it doesn't. Why would it open? It's Jason, not the mama. But every time I see this, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to open its eyes. But right before that,
like makeup.
It does look like makeup. No, I think your theory is correct, which is probably why we think the eyes are going to open. But right before that, she is like being helped into an ambulance, but they can't find Paul. So, don't know what happened to him. Would you recommend Friday the 13th Part 2?
Oh, totally. I love the Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is a real fun one. It's on Prime, I believe, and a couple other places as well. Super duper fun. I believe all these or some of these are on that CBS All Access streaming as well. But super fun one. My
because
favorite
the rights
remains
to Friday the 13th make no sense.
Yes.
You can watch 1 and 5 here. You can watch 2 and 3 there. 4 and 7 here.
There's a really gorgeous looking Blu-ray set coming out later this year from Shout Factory, which I am trying to get a review copy of. And so we may be doing more Friday the 13th in October
please.
if that happens. But yeah, this is a really fun one. My favorite remains number 4, but I think this one's really solid. The first 4 are all very good.
I agree.
All very solidly made. Don't forget to hop over to that second episode with Ted and hear his really great theory about the end of this movie. Good tease there. Good. It's like almost like we've been doing this a while. That was a good tease. But super fun interview with Ted. We really appreciate his time and how much fun we had there. So make sure you check that out. It's really worth it. Don't forget to check us out at Dissect the 80s on Twitter, Dissecting the 80s on Facebook. If you haven't checked out patreon.com/Dissecting the 80s, you should do that. We are more than halfway now to our new stretch goal, which is if we get to $150 a month, we will do a bonus episode every single month for everybody who's a subscriber at the $5 or higher level. So check it out, see if there's one that works for you. Don't forget, if you haven't yet, rate and review the show wherever you get it. If it's not on iTunes, send us a screenshot because it's hard to track down all these different places. But if you rate the show and review it and send it to us, we will read it on the air. So if you want to hear your words coming out of our mouth, rate the show. We will be back on August 10th with a movie I'm sure Andrew's excited about, Xanadu.
Yeah.
40th anniversary. We're doing a movie musical. A movie musical.
On roller skates.
On roller skates. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We really appreciate it and appreciate you taking your time out, especially during these quarantine times when you're not probably commuting, to listen to us. I have been Triplino.
Not commuting.
Yes. If you're out there working, we really appreciate it. Stay safe. Keep your masks on. We hope that this is all over soon. I have been Triplino.
I will always be Andrew Leno.
Until next time.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.